What's up, everybody? It is Thursday, January 8th. Mike Bohn here with Farah Hannoun for a little live chat here by the bonfire. Farah, how are we doing? How's your week?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm all right, hanging in there. I think you're doing a basketball tournament this week, or was that last week? Or
Or it's ongoing, but my team's
Ooh.
off this weekend, so been practicing this week.
Okay, nice. How's the team doing? Is it like how long does this tournament span if you're off for a weekend?
It's we play every weekend, so it's like a season of I think we play like 8 or 9 games, and then we go into playoffs. We just suffered our first L last weekend, so that wasn't good. We were undefeated up until then, but it's okay.
There we go. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, Farah, amazing shooter. Many people experienced that on Fight Island a few years ago. They suffered defeat at her hands. So yeah, Farah, we still haven't got our game in though, so that still needs to come. I need to see you this year at an event. We can get it in.
No, we'll take on other people and beat the other media members because they've been
Very
talking a
good.
lot of trash. Just saying.
Junkie verse. Yeah, I hope everyone out there is doing well. Obviously, if you want to leave any questions or anything, Farah and I will try to answer them. We're going to go over some MMA news, make some predictions for 2026. Will be good times here, Farah. But I think the thing we have to lead it off with is Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier coaching this Alpha reality show. Just continues to get more layers, I guess. This announcement was a bit of a surprise the other day, just gets thrown up on Instagram, but now there's interviews. They've been over there. I don't know if they're still over there or home now, but I think it's in the can. Either way, Jon Jones just had an interview with Red Corner MMA where he put Daniel Cormier on blast. I think one of the quotes here, I'll read it. He was a a-hole. I tried to make peace with him many times. He made it very clear, and he wants to be enemies for the rest of his life. He is a dickhead. Look at the way he treats his staff members. He just bosses guys around. He wasn't very sociable. The one thing I do know is that I made him cry in front of the world. I took him off the list of being considered one of the greatest fighters of all time, end quote. That is Jon Jones. There is more in there, but yeah, I guess, Farah, what do you just think first of all, before we get into the back and forth, just this announcement, these two guys coaching Alpha Reality, not the Ultimate Fighter over there, the Russian version of the Ultimate Fighter, I guess we're calling it.
Yeah, like we were just talking off camera, I was seeing like all the headlines that came out before. It looked like they were all going to be friends and it was going to be all nice and dandy, which now obviously we know that's not the way it went. But listen, they're always going to have this little competitive back and forth because that's just the way both of them can be pretty petty when it comes to these things. So I think like they're not fighting each other anymore, but still you just put them in a competitive setting, even if it's not them competing against each other, even if it's teams or not, it's going to bring out that side of them, their history and all that stuff. So yeah, I am kind of looking forward to see. I haven't watched the other renditions of this, like what was it, Aljo and Piotr Jan who coached, and then we had was it Arman out there and stuff. So I haven't watched the other renditions, but this probably, I'm sure we're gonna have some clips coming out, so I'm curious.
Yeah, I think they had Jon Jones and Nate Diaz. It was supposed to be, then Diaz left, and they brought in Jorge Masvidal. But yeah, I haven't seen that like outside of a few clips there. I'm not sure, how it's presented, when this is going to air either. But I don't know. Are you surprised at all that like they both agreed to do this? I'm a little shocked in that regard that they were open to even going down this road. But I'm sure money makes things easier.
Yeah, Cormier, I'm more so surprised Cormier because he's kind of like Mr. UFC, right? He's a commentator. He works with the UFC. We haven't really seen him do too many things outside of UFC related stuff. Whereas with Jones, like you just mentioned, he just did the show with Nate and then Jorge. But yeah, surprised that Cormier agreed. But like you said, money talks. So I'm sure they offered him a bag he couldn't refuse.
Yeah, no, I guess what do you make of these quotes from Jones? Like, I thought maybe we might have some peace between them. Like there was the first round where they seemed a little more open to maybe making peace, but it seems like, again, I don't know if any of this stuff was done a few days ago before something happened. I don't know when this has been filming or if Jon said this a few days ago and the interview is just coming out now.
Yeah, that's the issue. I'm not really aware of when things are coming out because clearly it seems like certain interviews are being posted way later. Obviously, maybe because they had to wait for the announcement, right, of the show. So I remember I was just telling you again, like when I listened to the first thing that was said between them, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna write this article because this sounds like I don't know even when this was filmed because I was trying to think like, did they really spend all that time together and come out with that conclusion? So I was kind of a little bit confused. And then now seeing, so I'm not surprised, no, seeing Jones saying what he said about Cormier, I'm not surprised at all, because I feel like those two, Khabib, Conor, like those guys, I don't think they're ever gonna just bury the hatchet 100%. There's just too much competitiveness, too much pettiness going on from both sides.
Yeah, it does seem like maybe the peace is being made to a degree that they won't just be trying to fight each other nonstop. And it's more like a verbal hatred. I'm sure there's a lot of digs both ways. So at least they can hold it together professionally in some measure. But maybe this is going to lead to something. I mean, both of them talking about a wrestling match, maybe with RAF. I don't know how that promotion affords something like this, but they've been able to get a lot of guys in, so something's going on there. But I don't know, would that be like a satisfying payoff for you? Does seeing Jones and Cormier wrestle do anything for you for the rivalry?
I guess that's the best thing you can get out of it, just because of, we all remember when Jones took Cormier down during their fight, and that was a bit of a
what it all started with, right? Like the comment backstage that Jon made, "I could take you down" or whatever, that rubbed Daniel the wrong way, and that was really the genesis of their whole rivalry.
So yeah, exactly. So because of that, then I obviously, because DC is the one that's the way more credentialed wrestler on paper, but Jones's competitiveness, like, the last thing on earth DC would want to do is lose to Jones in wrestling. Like, it was hard, tough enough of a pill for him to swallow, losing to him in MMA, but in wrestling, so at least the lead up and stuff. And I've been enjoying the video packages. I just watched the Colby and Rockhold one. I've been enjoying kind of the packages they put together. It's not the most entertaining thing for me in the world when I watch these guys, I grapple and stuff, but I can appreciate the build up and stuff. But because of this particular thing that we just talked about with Jones and Cormier, I would be intrigued.
Who would you favor? Do you think old man Cormier could do something with Jon? He seemed very confident. Like, he says that it would be 10-0. Like, this is the one area where he'd have no chance, but I don't know.
What would they weigh at, though? What would they weigh at?
That's a great question as well. I have no idea. Would the UFC allow that one? I'm not sure. It's one thing for them to coach. I don't know about this one, but they're allowing a lot of high profile guys to compete in this, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It would depend on what Cormier would have to get down at, because obviously Jones, I'm assuming, is going to be a lot better shape than Cormier. So, I don't know. I guess it depends. Cormier is going to have to whip himself in some sort of shape for this.
Yeah. Well, it seems like he's trying a little bit. I feel like you see more gym photos and video of him than ever, and he's got his own team that he's coaching too. Another thing Jon said in that interview with Red Corner is, like, he wants to fight Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira wants to fight him, but he doesn't have faith that Dana White is going to want to make that fight. And he's like, let's see what Dana's going to do. It's kind of in tone with what Dana White has said the whole time, but I feel like as certain things started to happen over time, the Aspinall Gone fight ending the way it did, just things kind of lining up towards the White House, I felt more and more like maybe the door was open to UFC making that fight, but Jon doesn't seem very confident. So I thought that was interesting that he kind of put that out there too.
I don't know. I feel it's more about the White House than it is the matchup itself, just because the amount of promotion they're going to put into it and the reliability factor, and them saying whatever 7 title fights or whatever is being said about these things, like whatever it may be. Well, this wouldn't even be a title fight, right? Because obviously, I'm assuming it would be at heavyweight. I don't see Jon Jones going down to
I would love to see it at light heavyweight. I think that would be the best version of this fight.
I agree, but I just don't know, like, is there even enough time for Jones to like properly make the cut down, unless he's been working on it from the beginning? I don't think so. Like, UFC is basically telling him, or that's the impression he's getting, is he really going to be cutting down to 205 just in case? So I don't know. I feel like if this fight takes place, it's probably going to take place at heavyweight. It's just a shame that there's no title attached, or there wouldn't be a title attached, and the whole lure of Pereira going up to heavyweight was for him to do something that no one's ever done before, which is capture 3 titles. So, I think it's more about the White House and the reliability, or them not thinking Jones is reliable enough for a mega event like that, because they don't want to promote it around him and then have him not show up after what happened with Tom Aspinall. So that's what I think it is. But the matchup itself, I don't think the US, because, like, I'm assuming Dana's expecting Jones to fight at some point. So why would you be against him fighting Alex Pereira? Like, what's wrong with making that fight? So I think me personally, it's more about the White House than the fight itself.
Yeah, don't even know where they stand on that. Like, I wonder if Jon will fight this year. Do you think he does? Do you think we get a Jon Jones fight in 2026?
I think we do.
Really? How does it happen? They just it just ends up on a random card like later in the summer towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I just think they just, after the whole Aspinall saga, like promoting, because that's gonna well, Connor as well. Well, who knows with this guy if he's actually gonna fight at the White House? But that's the thing, right? He's got the two biggest stars or whatever talking about the White House. Let's say they say yes. You got two of the most unreliable guys that you're gonna promote this event around only for, no offense, and I love Sean O'Malley, but only for Sean O'Malley to end up headlining or whatever, like that's going to be very anticlimactic for them. You know what I mean? So I think there's that worry that the UFC has of like promoting the White House event and all the coverage it's going to get way beyond MMA only for the, you know what I mean? So that's what I think it's about. Like, are we really going to rely on these two making it about them? So I think that's where the fear comes from when it comes to the UFC side.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, we're here January 8th. Dana White has said time and time again they're going to start assembling this card in February. So we will see ultimately what they do. There's no way there's 7 title fights though on this card, right?
No, I mean, Kamaru just said that's probably something I'm going to write up tomorrow. Kamaru said something about like that's just too much. And yes, I agree. And I'm not saying that because I'm halfway across the world and time zone. Even if I was in prime time, that's too much to say. Like, imagine if they just go all the distance. Like, that's that's exhausting. And I think it's just not going to do justice for the fights that come on later. So I wouldn't be like, I wouldn't advise that, and I wouldn't be a fan of having 7 title fights. That's absurd.
Yeah, it's a lot. You go through UFC and just even MMA history, right? Like when his really 3 title fights should be the max in these scenarios. And like sometimes that turns out badly, like UFC, what was it, 33 and a half, the infamous one, like right after they took over, that, you know, is one of the worst moments in UFC history, that card playing out the way it did. Strikeforce Nashville, which led to the brawl. I think we had 3 title fights that all went 5 rounds. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you wanted to make this super special, do 4. Never had a card with 4 title fights. You could say this is unprecedented. Maybe if you do a 4-fight main card and it's all championship bouts, then that's like tidily presented as something historic.
I feel like we have enough names, though, especially if we're relating it to the White House in the U.S. and stuff like that. We have enough like names like the Jorge Masvidals, the Colby Covingtons, the Michael Chandlers that you don't really need to have 4 title fights, because even then, like, and this is no offense to the fighters I'm about to name, but even like putting Pantoja and Van, for example, like that, like why? You know what I mean? Like, what does that even do? And plus, if you're going to put all these title fights, what are you going to do with the rest of the year, right? So it just, I don't see like too much value in putting all these title fights. I think Kayla Harrison, if she gets through Amanda Nunes, she's an American champion. You put her on there, that's a no-brainer. Whoever else, I mean, BMF title, I mean, Max Holloway, if he gets past Charles Oliveira, like there are championship fights you can put on there. And then Conor and Jones are already non-title fights technically, unless you want to put a White House title.
Yeah. Yeah, God, yeah. I feel like we're gonna get at least one of those. I could see that being for Conor and Michael Chandler. It's just
Mr. America. No,
it's too right. It's too right there. It's too on the nose. I just see it happening. So we'll see how that goes. Time winding down, but yeah, Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier stealing all the headlines. It feels like we're in 2016 again or something. It's kind of strange, but this is MMA. The news cycle goes on. Speaking of the news cycle, Farah, one of the big stories, I guess, of the week was this Michael Morales record drama. That we had with Tapology and Sherdog and all the record keepers not really aligning. It's kind of over now. Obviously, they determined ultimately, Tapology, that those fights he had in 2017 were part of a reality show in Latin America and exhibition fights. But I don't know. Thought it was a bit of a weird situation. Just overall, what did you make of everything that happened there?
Yeah, strange for sure, because I wonder what made them just randomly. They must be looking into a lot of fighters and records and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess if this is the exhibitions equivalent of what we have in the Ultimate Fighter, Bryce Mitchell was always promoted as undefeated, although he had lost to Brad Katona on the Ultimate Fighter, Team Cormier. But yeah, like that was so yeah, I guess when you look at it that way, it felt weird. And currently, like, in the running potentially to fight for a title, being promoted as this undefeated finisher, that's just a horrible time for him I know he reacted to it, but just a horrible time for him to receive that news or whatever. But they took it back, and I think that was the right decision.
Yeah. Hey, were you aware of that fight like before those clips popped up? Yeah. See, that's the thing that I wonder. Like, we see guys in a certain light, you give them an aura, whatever you want to say, even if it's an amateur fight, just like the visual of seeing, him lose like that, exhibition amateur, whatever you want to call it, like, something is there, right? And I think people are going to hold on to that, and it's just like skews the perception a little bit. So I wonder if that kind of hurts him in the eyes of some fans, and even something future opponents look at. So I always find that part of it interesting as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's anytime somebody's undefeated, you're going to nitpick a little bit, and you're going to be it's like with Khabib, they talk about his padded record or the 2-round fights or whatnot way back in the day and stuff like that. But it all ended up not mattering at the end of the day anyway. Even if you wanted to take out 5 to 10 of his pro fights, what does it matter? You can't deny what he's done in the UFC anyway. So I think in hindsight, or in the grand scheme of things, you just realize it doesn't matter. But I guess because Michael Morales isn't proven yet, like he is, but we haven't seen him in the title fight, and we haven't seen how far he can go. So yeah, and especially that right now we're trying to figure out who's going to fight Islam Makhachev or who the most deserving is, and he's already in the running with Ian Machado Gary, potentially Carlos Prates, Kamaru Usman. So yeah, not the best timing for him.
Yeah, well, he did say, I think I saw an interview, it's mind blanking who he spoke with. I think it was Carlos Gillespie from ESPN.
Yes.
Said that the UFC is talking about a fight between him and Jack Della Maddalena. So I don't know. Does this tell us that Kamaru Usman is getting the shot? I mean, if it's not him, it feels like that's the way it's going then.
I posted this on Slack when I'm like, Hamza Chimaev's toughest fight of his career. And it's like him and Kamaru Usman. And don't get me wrong, that was a great showing by Kamaru Usman. But I just found that funny. I'm like, all right, they're starting to promote it.
Yeah. They have the full fight up there on the YouTube channel. So I think we'll see what happens with that. There's some chatter, right? I've seen some rumors of a Dubai card in April. Have you heard anything? Is that a thing?
I haven't heard anything yet, but I already have been trying to look into it. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wonder if there's 2 numbered events, because there's the Miami card that's starting to get some traction as well, some fights announced and things like that. So yeah, we're starting to get there, Farah. The schedule is just 2+ weeks away now from kicking off, and I think lots more news coming down the pipe here in the next few weeks. Here, let's answer this question from AZ Ray Videos. About who will fight in 2026. I see your other questions too. They kind of tie into one of my predictions. So AZ Ray Videos, I'm going to hold off on answering the women's MMA questions until towards the end. But we got this one here for who fights in 2026. So let's just say yes or no and go through why. So Ilia Topuria, what do you think? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, but probably not until the back end of the year, right?
Yeah, and, exactly.
Interestingly enough, Dana White did an interview, I think, with CBS this morning, and kind of left the door open to when the timeline will be. I don't know. Nothing is firm on Ilia Topuria as you would kind of hope it would be, but seemed like, if the reports out of Spain and stuff are to be believed and accurate, maybe there is a positive step forward in terms of him maybe resolving this personal situation has been going on. So who knows? That'll be curious. So yes, we both say yes on Ilia Topuria. Conor McGregor.
I don't know. I mean, we've been having this conversation every freaking year.
Is it the year though?
Because of the White House and whatever deal he just did with Trump. How if after all this, he doesn't, then
it's never happening, right? So it's now or never. Yeah. So we'll both say yes, optimistically, I guess. But yeah, if he's not on that card, I think it's pretty clear what the future looks like. So 2 yeses on Conor. Tom Aspinall.
Yeah.
Yes or no? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we agree. Hopefully, that's me just hoping the best for him. I really hope this is nothing that's career-ending with the eye injuries. So we'll see, but also factors into a prediction I have later. So we'll see there. Jon Jones, I'm going to say no on Jon Jones. But I know you kind of said earlier, you said yes.
I'm going to say yes. And it ties into the future prediction thingy. So yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, those are a few there. Let's see. What do we got here? Another question. Any insight on the Anthony Joshua situation? Nothing really. Yeah, I mean, extreme tragedy. Nothing beyond what's already out there. I think he put out his first statement this morning. Mostly just boilerplate stuff, wishing positive thoughts for his friends and things like that, grieving the situation. So I don't know. It's really hard to speculate on this stuff, right? It's like a very personal thing. I'm sure his heart is broken. I mean, we sure can relate a little bit what it's like to lose a friend, and his situation was very, very tragic. So don't want to say whether I think he fights again. That's something that might take him a while to figure out. So we'll see what happens with Anthony Joshua, but we wish him the best. And yeah, that was very scary. Another thing here, Farah, I had kind of on our news and notes, Sean O'Malley did a video on his YouTube channel this week where he said, essentially this could be his last year in MMA, like two paths to it. Either he loses this fight, loses another fight at the end of the year, and then I guess retires on a 4-fight losing skid, or he has the big comeback. He beats Song Yadong at UFC 324. He rematches Piotr Jan in the summer, wins the title, and then retires as champion, which, I mean, again, these guys like Kamaru Usman, who's like, I'm going to win the welterweight title, the middleweight title, then I'm going to retire. Like, this isn't, the UFC is not going to give you the title shot if this is your selling point. I'm going to win and then retire. So this is crazy work. But what did you think of Sean's comments?
Yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying any of it, because I understand that he'd be in a tough spot if he loses. That would be his third loss in a row. It pushes him far from the title picture and whatnot. On the contrary, a win can do plenty for him now that Piotr Jan is the champion. But I think Sean O'Malley is a big enough name that he can get big enough fights, even if he's not in the title picture. And kind of makes me think of Cody Garbrandt and who he's fighting at UFC 326. I don't want to butcher the first name, but Zhao Long, like
Xiaolong,
pretty, it's pretty crazy, as they say, how the mighty have fallen. Like, I just remember him like in his prime, and after filming The Ultimate Fighter with TJ Dillashaw and all that drama and the buildup, and him even getting an immediate title shot after losing his belt off of no title defenses, but his performance against Dominic Cruz and the star power and potential he had behind him. But he's kind of still sticking around because I think in the back of their minds, they'll think they're young and it's not like they're in their late 30s, right? So it's like the downfall kind of happened to Cody while he's still relatively young. And if the same were to happen to Sean O'Malley, if he loses to Song Yadong, loses another one, he's still going to think the back of his head, like, I'm still young and I'm still healthy and I know I might still have more in me, rather than, him being, because like in his late 30s or whatever, and thinking, you know what, I should call it a career. So that's why I don't buy it. I just don't, like, why? I think he's a big enough name to stick around and have because even like Cody, if you look back, like just UFC 300, he was fighting Davison Figueiredo, so he was still pulling those big names. But I guess the up and down results, and it only takes one win to, because even if you'll accept to fight somebody that isn't that big of a name, one win will get you right back to the big names, because your name will always hold value as a former champion and stuff. So I think for Sean, like, even if things don't go his way against Song Yadong, I just don't buy that he's just going to retire. I don't think it's going to sit well with him.
Yeah, I mean, this feels like a pretty clear move. If you lose this fight, you give 145 a shot and just maybe see if you develop a little more power and filling out the frame and things like that. There's some fun matchups for him there. So I could see maybe that being the last ditch effort. But Sean doesn't strike me as a guy, like, if it does start going bad, if he loses this fight and then loses another one after, like, I don't see him sticking around doing Tony Ferguson numbers, like, 6, 7 losses in a row.
No.
Like, feel like he... and there is one thing to that. Like, Tony Ferguson could have retired many times during that losing skid. Like, you do give him a little bit of credit for, I guess, being a trier and going out there and trying to make it right over and over. Like, Sean just doesn't strike me as someone who's going to want to go through all that.
But I think it depends how you look as well, because like I was just using the example of, it's not like he's in his late 30s, but Kamaru Usman is. But Kamaru Usman knows what he looked like against Leon Edwards in the first fight before he got knocked out. Second fight was a super close loss. And then he gave Khamzat Chimaev a really tough test, short notice, up a division. So you know what you look like. Like, if you're out there getting dominated or your chin's completely gone, that's a whole different story. But if you're out there and you're still looking competitive and you still look like you have a lot of fight left in you, it's a different story. So I think it's going to depend how he looks. If he's going to go out there and have people outpoint him and look faster on him and do all the things that he used to do to other guys, then that's when it's going to be a bit of a wake-up call. But if he just gets caught, like if he's, dominating and gets caught, that's a whole different type of loss than if he were to get like dominated.
Yeah, very fair. I'm very interested to see how that fight plays out. Swerve here says Song very underrated. Judges had 2-2 going into the 5th against Corey Sandhagen. Yeah. Again, Song Yadong, very talented. He's been in the UFC for a while now. I was talking to someone about this last night, actually. This feels like kind of his make or break fight. Like, we know he's been very good, but he's got to this point and failed to get over the hump a few times. And like the Henry Cejudo win, obviously great for the resume, but not as clean, per se as you would want it to be in terms of just like being a definitive result. So if he doesn't win this one, I feel like the story is kind of written on Song Yadong a little bit in terms of what his ceiling is. But he breaks through, and I think maybe this is the time he becomes a true contender. But he's been top 10 in this division, top 15 for several years now.
Yeah, because as good of a matchup you would think it is for Sean in comparison to the strong wrestlers or back-to-back fights with Merab, it's also a good matchup for Song as well, because this is a guy who will stand and trade with him. And I think there's a way higher chance that Song tries to take Sean down than vice versa. So Song's going to want somebody who's going to stand and trade with him. So that in that regard, it's a good matchup for him too.
Yep, and that'll be the featured bout on UFC 324, the first event of the year. Antoine Willis asks, hey guys, love the show you do. Thank you. Do you think a 6-week break was good for the sport or too long? Ooh, I don't know. Good, bad for the sport. I don't really know either, but it's hard to say I've enjoyed it because we've been dealing with a lot of shit during this past few weeks, Farah, personally. But I do think there is value in kind of having a refresh point. And this has been the case for like 5 years now, right? That they've kind of done this and like final event mid-December and then gone into this little like 5-6 week break. It's sometimes been shorter. I think like past years, there's been an event around like this weekend, like, January 11th or whatever, but still it's around a month. And I think it's good for us to just kind of get a little time away. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, because I think a lot of people were complaining about some of the quality of the Apex cards and whatnot. So it's like you get a bit of a break and then you come to UFC 324 and there's a lot of the big names and a couple of title fights and whatnot. And 325 has a couple, and that's 325 is coming like very shortly after, like what is it, a couple weeks in between 324.
No, it's the next week.
It's the next week. There you go. Yes. Back-to-back weeks. There you go. So I think to take that time off and to come back, January 24 and 31st, to come back like to that, then I guess that's that was smart on their part. So the break comes, but then you get back-to-back good cards, and we're in the Paramount era now, so it's not like buying a pay-per-view and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think the hype is going to grow even more, and it's not like we're going into an Apex card to kick this all off. Like, it's a huge pay-per-view with a lot of really, really good fights on it. So I think that should satisfy everyone's itch. But yeah, I don't think it's been good or bad for the sport. We've been doing this for years, and I don't think you could sit here and point to anything that would say taking a month off has hurt anything or being bad. But I am curious to see how it's going to look in the Paramount era, like what they're going to do, because I know they had a lot of stuff that was like, yearly annual traditions, the New Year's weekend kind of pay-per-view, July 4th, which they, moved around a little bit, Memorial Day, all those things are kind of gone a little bit. So I'm curious if they bring this back and have a little more say within the Paramount schedule than they did with ESPN. I hope not, because those December final weekend pay-per-views were brutal. Like, you're at media day on Boxing Day, Christmas Day or whatever. It's crazy. Yeah. Sometimes it's like the rise in New Year's Eve cards. Like, I get it's nice for those who aren't doing something, but for the rest of the people who want to do something, it's not the best thing. Yeah, well, you're in the sweet spot for the time zone on those ones. That's like the worst possible timing for me. But I did that coverage for years of those New Year's events. So someone else can take those now that I'm too old. Off topic here, Farah, but Antoine Willis, Mike, I know you're a hoop head, as is Farah. Thoughts on the Trae Young situation, getting traded to Washington? Yeah, I think I said this in Slack. That's like top 5 poverty franchise downgrade. I mean, fascinating that Trae Young would want to go there, but I think that franchise really needs someone who can sell tickets and do something interesting. But I think I saw a report today that he might not play at all for the rest of the season. So
yeah, I think he's reuniting with the coach that brought him to the draft, if I'm not mistaken. So I think there's a little bit of a story there. But yeah, definitely, it's a weird one. But
yeah, we'll see where it goes. A lot of talk here in Toronto about the Anthony Davises of the world and other potential trade options. So trade deadline's a few weeks away. We'll see what happens. But I think I'm gonna go over to the arena on Sunday. They're playing Philly, so I want to see Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid and all these dudes. If Embiid plays, you never know with him. It's always a 50-50 type of thing. Farah, we talked about it a little bit earlier with Ilia Topuria. We said we're confident that he fights in 2026, but how do you think this lightweight division ultimately shakes out? Like, it's tied into UFC 324. We'll talk a little bit about the fight there in a few, but do you think this goes like as cleanly as it could? This interim title fight happens, he unifies in the summer, then we're back on track? Or is there like a chance something else comes out? The interim title has to be defended. Ilya gets maybe stripped and the interim winner gets upgraded to undisputed champ. Like, there's a lot of ways this can go. What do you kind of see in your mind's eye for the lightweight division in 2026?
Well, this kind of ties into my 2026 predictions. So I don't know if you want me to respond to this or not.
Yes. Let's do the predictions now. Why not? Let's do it. We'll get your first one there for us. So yeah, take it away with how this ties in.
Yeah, I think Ilya and Islam happens at welterweight at the end of the year. That's because I feel that now Ilya knows there's an interim title. He's wanted to go up to welterweight. Like, every time Ilya has, because I remember when he was talking about the lightweight thing, like, people were like, I don't know if he's going to do it or not. Like, I feel like once he puts the idea out there, he's going to do it if he can. And I think now that there's an interim title, you've got Arman there. I don't think he feels like he's going to be screwing over the UFC too much. Granted, he just pulled it with the title like in the division before, but there's already a plan set in motion of where lightweight could go. So I feel like this is perfect for him. And I don't know how long it's going to take him to deal with his personal issues, but he still needs to jump into a training camp and whatnot. And depending if Islam can get, if April Dubai is a thing, and he fights Kamaru Usman, because that's probably what's going to happen. And if Islam wins, and then Ilya's kind of ready towards the end of the year, October in Abu Dhabi, one can dream, selfishly. And then, yeah, I see it.
Okay, so this leads somewhat into a question that came earlier. If you guys had to predict the two title defenses, oh my God. Farah, you're going to get our boy Islam killed with the criticism here. So his two title defenses are going to be against Kamaru Usman and Ilia Topuria in your mind.
It's not his fault.
The best it's been like in this decade.
Wait, let me make something clear. It's not like he got so much crap for Renato Moicano. That's not his fault. It's not his fault. If the UFC are going to come up to him and say that this is the guy you're going to fight, he's going to fight him. If the UFC tell him it's Michael Morales, like, stop hating on Islam Makhachev. Like, there are these kind of lucrative options out there. And I know he vocalized that he sees Kamaru Usman as kind of like the legacy fight and whatnot. But if the UFC call him and say Ian Machado Gary, he's going to take that fight. But if the UFC are on board with what he wants, what do you want him to do? Say, no, I'm rejecting Kamaru Usman, give me Ian Machado Gary. He's not going to do that, right? I just think it seems like we know how much Dana loves Kamaru Usman. They're managed both by Ali. Yeah, like, I just see that's the fight that's going to happen. I'm not saying that's the fight that should happen. I am not. I'm really not. But I think that's the fight that's probably going to happen. And then who knows? These guys are going to have to fight, right? Ian Machado Gary, Michael Morales, Shavkat Rakhmonov, Carlos Prates. Who knows what happens in these matchups and the outcomes and what those outcomes look like? Do those fighters come out unscathed? Are they ready to? Because I mention this every time we do these kind of shows, is that now I feel like it's dictated with when the champion wants to fight. It's like Sydney. Okay, they want Volk to headline Sydney. I know Lerone Murphy was down and so is Movstar and stuff, but I'm saying in a lot of situations, it's like, who's ready to go on that date? So if they want Islam, so if Islam does April and they want Islam October in Abu Dhabi or whatever, November MSG, it's going to be who's ready to go. And sometimes those guys aren't. So I feel like it really does come down to when the champion wants to fight and kind of what the UFC is looking at in terms of, yeah. But I know I'm not saying that this is what should happen, but I just really, really would not be surprised. So don't kill us, I'm just saying.
Yeah, there we go. Farah's probably right. How dare you put it in the universe? Yeah, I'm okay with Islam and Kamaru happening next, but if Islam wins that fight, like the next one can't be Ilia Topuria to me. It's got to be one of these guys who deserves it, but maybe the fight is so big that it's irresistible. I don't have a ton of interest in it at 170, though. I feel like Islam's just going to be too big and the grappling is going to be too much for Ilia to handle. But I don't know. We'll see if he is able to go for greatness. So, God. So who's the lightweight champion at the end of the year then? Under the scenario, do you think Ilia goes up as champion or he has to vacate for that fight?
Like, they're gonna make him vacate. There's no way they're letting him keep it. That's too much. Like, my scenario is too much. Like, letting him keep the belt is like way too much. Like, okay, now we're so yeah. I would
go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying like I would assume that Arman would fight the winner of Justin and Paddy, and I think Arman would beat them. So I'd say Arman would be the champ by the end of unless they hate him so much that they just.
I was going to say, I think if the winner of Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira gets the shot, we definitely know that Arman Sarukian is forever screwed. So yeah, I feel bad for the guy. I would like
if that happens, then what I'm saying is not out of left field. Cecilia is undefeated. Like not that's getting way too. Like if they're willing to do that, then my idea isn't that crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I thought I saw something related to this in here. I can't find it. All good. What is this one here? Is massive on paper. Ilia versus Paddy. Yeah. It's a big fight. It's hard to say on pay-per-views just because we've been kept like so, in the closet in the ESPN era. They'll only really like put it out there when it's something they're very proud of, like the McGregor versus Poirier fights and UFC 300. You kind of hear some numbers trickle out. I have no idea what Ilia Topuria is like an actual pay-per-view seller or was for the UFC. It seemed like UFC 308, him versus Max Holloway, did pretty strong numbers. There was a lot of interest despite that being in Abu Dhabi. Like it felt like there was decent buzz around International Fight Week, but not like as much as some years prior. So I don't know. Like I think you would be super happy if that fight did like 400,000 pay-per-view buys at a point in time.
I just think it would sell higher than I don't think anything would sell that much outside of like a Conor McGregor in general. If they were still in the pay-per-view era, I just think pay-per-views just don't sell the way they used to. But they would be amongst the highest outside of like a Conor or maybe even a Jon Jones. Like outside of those two, I think they'd be amongst the highest selling fights if the model is still existing.
For sure. Well, let's put a bow kind of on lightweight things, and then we'll go into a couple other predictions here for 2026. Do you think Justin retires? This kind of goes into something that I just noted to talk about, like this Justin Gaethje staph infection photos, not staph infection, ingrown hair, and some brisket. According to him, doesn't quite look like that to me, but I am no doctor, Farah. But does any of this stuff worry you a few weeks out? Like, what do you make of this, I guess, narrative around Justin Gaethje's potential health? And, we see the stuff all the time, the staph infection speculation online. The fight's over 2 weeks away. If he did have something, I assume he would have been done his antibiotics and everything will be cleared. But what do you just make of this week?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's not going to say if it is. Like, I almost wanted to Google ingrown hairs, and then I'm like, no, thank you. I'm probably going to put really disgusting pictures. But I wanted to see.
You're searching that out.
Yeah, but yeah, like he's not going to say. It's like the same Benoit Saint-Denis situation, right? Like we all saw it, and he's like, it's not. And then he lost. And he's like, it is. So it's like why would you say it is? Like you're jeopardizing you not getting cleared for the fight. So it's like, why would you put attention on it? So I don't know what it is. It looks weird. It looks pretty nasty, but I hope that he'd be like, what were we, a couple weeks away? Yeah, I don't know. I'd hope that if he is on antibiotics that it doesn't impact him in the fight, because that's just Yeah, I mean, that would just be annoying because it's like, obviously, anytime a fighter mentions these things, it's like excuses, excuses, excuses. And then we talked about this last time. It's like we saw it with Jan and Marab. I was at 50%. Ankalaev and Pereira. Pereira was saying he's injured, and then Ankalaev was saying his rib was messed up. Juliana Pena, Amanda Nunes. It's so apparent these days with fighters talking about what they were going through after the fight. And sometimes they have the opportunity to rectify that wrong. Sometimes they don't. So I hope it's nothing, just because like we don't need an asterisk on the outcome of this fight.
Yeah, just like 100% none of this stuff being in there. I think Paddy Pimblett, since this fight opened, has been the favorite, and it's kind of going up closer to 2-1 now. Do you like everyone's 100%, none of these storylines in there? Does that seem fair to you, or are you a bit surprised that Paddy's getting so much love here from the odds makers, and I'm seeing a lot of people pick him?
Yeah, I'm not 100% like surprised that he's a favorite. Like I would have expected him to be like a slight, I don't know what he's up is yet, -2 something right now or something, but like I would have expected him to be a slight favorite just because of the supposed changing of the guard or what people may think. Granted, I think Gaethje's won 2 of his past 3, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think they look into Paddy's grappling.
Mhm.
Paddy's a pretty big 55er as well, especially when he after weigh-ins.
Yeah.
So I think you look at that aspect, but then you look at the striking and Paddy's striking defense. Yeah, Scousers don't get knocked out, but like yeah, you look at that, and obviously you shouldn't be entirely shocked if Gaethje chins him. So. But I think from a grappling aspect, I tend to look, when I like pick fights and stuff, I always lean towards the grappling element. Like if I feel like somebody, and I know Justin can grapple, and I know his takedown defense is solid and stuff, but I think Paddy could surprise him there. So not entirely surprised when I look at it that way. But if Gaethje beats him, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Yeah. How will you view the winner of this fight? Question here from Antoine Willis. Thank you for all the great questions today. You've been awesome. How do you guys feel about interim titles? Do you respect them? Like, given the millions of fighters who compete and never make it to a title shot? And then there's another part there. Like, if you guys won an interim belt, how would you feel legacy wise? I guess for me, like, it depends who you beat. Like,
Yeah.
the biggest example right there, Dustin Poirier, like, he beat Max Holloway for an interim belt. Max Holloway was a UFC champion at featherweight who was on a 13 fight winning streak, which is one of the longest in history. Like, doesn't get much better than that in terms of quality win. So like that feels like a championship victory, but obviously there's other scenarios where, like Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich or whatever. Like, I know Tom made his way, but that was cobbled together out of necessity on 2 weeks notice or whatever. Right. And Sergey hasn't really been able to get back to the level he was going into that fight. So they're all circumstantial. I guess it depends on who it is and who you're beating and all that stuff. I don't know if I'm Justin Gaethje and I beat Paddy Pimblett, I'm going out there and saying I'm the world champion, right? But if you're Paddy, like Justin Gaethje's been around, he's fought them all. Like, you can, I think, trot out that feeling a little more, and we know he's going to, because he hates Ilia Topuria.
Yeah, I think because Armin's not in the picture, I get, because I got so much flack when I talked about this on Overreaction Time, how I felt like Armin should be in the title picture. I'm like, geez, how much do you guys hate Armin? Like, I was shocked at I don't care about them like talking crap about me, but I'm like, how much do you hate Armin that you really, really, really don't think he should be in this title picture? Like, come on. Like, I don't know. Like, I thought it was a little bit harsh. I know him pulling out of the title fight. Like, I get it from the promotion standpoint. Almost feels like a teacher trying to punish a student. Like, you didn't show up to the title fight and you punched the fan. It's like a disciplinary thing. So I kind of get it from the promotion side, but the fans, like, we're not trying to discipline the fighters. We've seen fighters do way worse. So I was pretty shocked at the reaction from people saying that Armin shouldn't be in the title fight. I just didn't understand that, and very like passionately going after me and Armin. I'm like, what am I missing here? But yeah, I think because he's not in the title picture, and at least he should have been one half of it. Maybe it's, I don't know, for ranking it in terms of the most legitimate interim title fights. Maybe that's something we should look into.
Ooh,
Just like,
that sounds like a great episode of The Bonfire.
yeah, there you go. Legitimacy of interim title fights, but I probably would feel like it wouldn't rank too high up there. But then again, we had Gann and Derek Lewis. What was Derek Lewis when he
Yeah,
was fighting?
Yeah, that was pretty bad too. Yeah, there's been some tough ones. We'll see.
They're circumstantial, right? That's the whole point. Like they put them together when something happens where the champion can't compete. So it's not like it's part of their plans, right? So that's the whole point. You put together what you can because you need a big fight on a big event.
Yeah, and in fairness, I think they didn't have one interim title fight last year. Maybe one. I think Tom's defense was that in 2024. I don't even remember. There wasn't much.
Yeah,
yes.
That was
yeah, he sat out pretty much the whole year in 2025. So yeah, that was good, at least in that regard. So let's keep this going. Not off to a hot start in 26, but we shall see. Okay, Farah. So your prediction 1 was that Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev will fight for the welterweight title this year. I will go to 1 on my end, since we did mention some of these names here. I'm going to say, and I'm picking the wording kind of carefully here, the UFC heavyweight title is not defended in 2026. So they could have an undisputed fight. It could be unsuccessful. I could see a scenario where, knock on wood, not hoping this at all, but if Tom's eye is significant and he has to take, maybe an extended layoff, and we end up getting like a vacant or interim title fight throughout this year, and maybe the interim champion has to defend. I don't know. Heavyweight division has just been such a crapshoot for, I think, the entire time I've been covering mixed martial arts. I just am going to guess that it's not defended over this year, because it would be in tone with the history of this disaster of a division.
Well, you think we're going to come up with another interim belt? Like, we already had an interim champion being promoted to undisputed.
Are we not seeing rumors out there about Alex Pereira, like Cyril Gahn for an interim title?
An interim to an interim. Is that what we're doing? I mean, no disrespect to Tom. He didn't do anything. He got promoted to undisputed, but this is like...
Yeah, I agree. So I hope this one isn't true, because there's nothing that would make me happier than to see the heavyweight division, get some normalcy. But it's been such a long time where this has been the case. Maybe I'm reverse jinxing it here. That's actually, let's say I'm going for that. So heavyweight division is not great. I think there's one question here. Waldo Cortez Acosta is definitely fighting for the title. I mean, this is where we're at. I don't even have to finish reading the comment. We're talking about Waldo Cortez Acosta title fights in 2026, and it does not feel like it's unrealistic. So that basically says it all. Farah, will throw back to you. What's prediction number 2 for 2026?
Yeah, well, mine, I kind of mentioned it earlier, is I think Jon Jones fights in 2026. Don't think it'll be at the White House. I think it'll be towards the end of the year, and I think it'll most probably be Alex Pereira. I think that fight happens. I just don't see Pereira being too motivated to do anything at 205. Highly doubt they're giving Ankalaev the trilogy. You got Carlos Olberg out there, who's great. A little bit of the, I guess, city kickboxing thingy, like with Pereira having fought Adesanya before and the kickboxing backgrounds and stuff. So it's sellable in that regard. But we all know Carlos isn't some massive trash talker. Yuri, love Yuri, but come on, like we don't want to see that again. So yeah, like Olberg is the guy for me that should be fighting. But then didn't Yuri come out and say that he's probably going to fight Carlos? Didn't he say that? He said he's expecting a baby in April, but that's what's being
some
discussed.
Chatter of an interim title on that too.
but yeah, just go, Alex Pereira. Just go and let these guys fight. Yeah. I think Pereira and Jon Jones. I don't know about the White House. It just seems too soon, considering how long. I mean, it's not too soon, but too soon in terms of how long it takes to negotiate with these guys. So I'm gonna say it's probably gonna happen towards the end of the year. Jones and Pereira heavyweight.
Yeah, well, we're very much, I feel like, all kind of centering around the similar things. Like that's part of this heavyweight picture as well, and to see which way they would go. Obviously, that would probably, what happens if Pereira fights Gahn for an interim title and wins that, and then
gets promoted and fights.
Yeah, and then like Aspinall's out for a while, so we get Jon Jones challenging Pereira. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff. The question I'd love to ask Jon Jones, which I haven't watched that full Red Corner interview, so I don't know if he was asked it in there. Apologies if it was. It's just like, if you can't get the White House fight, are you even interested? Like, is he wanting to come back end of the year at like, MSG or something to even want to do that? Or is the White House and, his patriotism and just desire to be on that card, is that like the only thing that excites him, right? Because he did retire, and then this whole White House stuff came out, and then he was like, well, I'm unretiring. I just needed something to like get me excited, and this is the thing and all that. So if that's off the table for him, I wonder if he is even wanting to do this, and especially the check will not be the $30 million he was presented with for Tom Aspinall. So like he's taken a few hits in terms of his financial goals and his location goals, but maybe he sees the Alex Pereira fight as enough of a legacy win that he would be willing to do it wherever.
Well, I think because that's the fight he won in the beginning, but then Aspinall got put in the picture, and it was kind of like he had to take that, and then he didn't end up taking it. And I'm sure Jones in his eyes thinks Aspinall's stock has gone completely down, which is going to help his point even more as to like, yeah, we'll see why I didn't want to fight this guy. Like he does nothing for me and whatnot. And obviously Aspinall receiving, I just wrote up this article this morning. He's like, I don't finish a fight in a minute and a half or two, and people all of a sudden think I suck. But yeah, that's kind of what's happening to him right now outside of the eye poke incident. So yeah, I see him getting up for an Alex Pereira fight regardless of the location. I know there'll be some disappointment if it doesn't happen at the White House, but I think that's a lucrative enough fight for him, for his legacy to stick around. That's the only one I see.
Mm-hmm. Okay, my second prediction here, and as promised, I'll pull something up from earlier. Thoughts on 2025 having a revival of female prospects. A couple names here. This is more of a question / prediction, I guess. Like 2025 did have the least amount of women's MMA fights in the UFC since I believe 2018. And my prediction is that number is going to go lower in 2026. It's just, I don't know what it is. I'm not trying to be harsh, but it kind of just goes to, I think the investment in women's MMA isn't quite there. We're not seeing, there's a couple of good names mentioned there, but how many people know any of these ladies? All due respect to them, and what kind of traction is them in terms of being contenders and stuff like that. There could be some of the biggest women's MMA fights we've had so far in 2026. Obviously, it kicks things off with Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes, but I don't know. And just in terms of volume, I think we're going to see the big names. The champions are going to fight a couple times a year, but outside of that, I don't think we're going to get over 100 women's fights in 2026. I think there is 80 something this year, or 2025.
I think, or it's just most divisions are gonna turn a little bit into the currently non-existent women's featherweight division, where it's like you just notch a couple of wins and it's like, all right, you're next for the title, because if they're not gonna give them plenty of fights throughout the year, it's gonna take them 5 years to build to a title shot. So might as well just get any prospect that gets a couple of exciting knockouts. You might, especially if we have dominant champions like Valentina Shevchenko, then you just throw the next one at her. And that's kind of how it was way back in the day anyways, when Anderson was dominating and when George St. Pierre. It's like, in hindsight, when you look at some of these names now, you're like, how did this guy fight for a title? But then you understand, because that was just they beat everybody. So it's just the next guy on a winning streak. So yeah. I think that's what it could turn into.
It's going to be more Felicia Spencer type title shots and things like that. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying that UFC is pulling the plug on women's. If they had 84 fights in 2025, they have 83 in 2026. My prediction is technically right. I'm not saying they're going to have 30 fights over the course of the year. I just think it's going to be a little bit less. And, any of these prospects excite you that in this question here from AZ Ray videos? As of right now, I think the co-main event for Mexico is Aylin Perez versus Macy Chiasson. That's where things stand in that division.
Yeah, Natalia Silva's is on the cusp of it's, you perform, you'll get there regardless. But I just think the path is just going to be a lot shorter now, or it's going to have to be a lot shorter. We're not looking at 7 fight winning streaks or whatever. It's just going to be a couple of good knockouts, and then it's kind of like flyweight. A couple
of good knockouts could take a few years in some of these fights. And again, I'm not trying to be harsh here, but
Jeez, Mike.
The finishing rates, things like that. Ronda
well, that's why I'm saying
Ronda Rousey still has the most submission wins in UFC women's bantamweight history, and she hasn't fought there in 10 years, and her record, she has 3. Just 3 submission wins, and that's the
Well,
record.
that's what I'm saying, Mike. 1 knockout, and there you go. 5
Yeah,
rounds.
exactly. Yes, but it's actually got to be done, and that's, I guess, part of the thing too. When you're talking about women's MMA, like the fights haven't panned out, I think, in the best way. I was really genuinely excited for Zhang Weili and Valentina Shevchenko, and it was dominant. And again, I say, like, credit to Valentina, would never knock her for being dominant, but it's just what it was. So I guess a wish for this part of my prediction is, please let Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes deliver, like whatever it may be. Whoever wins, I don't care. But if it's Kayla on top of her for 5 rounds and Amanda can't do anything to get up, but is good enough to not get finished, like, that would be a bit of a bummer. So let's hope. We're hoping for good things in 2026. Okay, Farah, you want me to give my third prediction, or do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay, we'll go on this. So this is me being more optimistic in regards to a certain weight class. All 3 of these weight class related. I just realized that, or weight class related of sort. So right now I have the best 3 divisions in the UFC: welterweight, lightweight, bantamweight. I think that's pretty fair. Would you disagree with that, or would you have something else in there?
No, that's fair. Yeah.
Okay, so I think by the end of the year, we are going to be talking about flyweight as a top 3. Men's flyweight is a top 3 division with the way things are shaking out and the talent that's coming through. So I don't know which of those 3 is going to get bumped. I feel like welterweight is safe. Lightweight's looking more and more top heavy as the days go on. So maybe that is a risk. Bantamweight, if Merab was still the champion and dominating everyone, I'd feel a little more confident about that one being knocked, but maybe some potential in play there. So I don't know what division is going to fall into that top 3, but I feel like flyweight is looking good right now. Joshua Van has, some very interesting potential options if he doesn't, defend against Pantoja next, and a lot of good prospects. Horiguchi's back, a lot of good things to say about flyweight. And it feels nice to say that after this division was on death's door just a few years ago.
Yeah, and that's not a bad prediction, because you've got Manel Kape, who obviously knows how to promote a fight. You've got Taira out there, the potential return of Muhammad Mukayev, at least I hope. So yeah, I mean, a lot of younger prospects, and then Van is champion, and then if Pantoja gets his immediate rematch or has to wait for one fight. So yeah, definitely a lot more exciting and different, because when Pantoja won, and we had certain guys who were in the rankings, and I remember at one point being like, oh, Pantoja beat this guy and this guy, even if it was before his title reign. He had knocked off like most of the guys in the top 5 or 6, 7. So yeah, definitely fresh blood, and it's looking good.
Yes, so we shall see. If you had to guess, out of those 3 divisions I named, if this prediction comes true, which one's getting bumped?
What was it? Welterweight and
lightweight and bantamweight.
Lightweight.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably the one too, which is kind of crazy to think about as well, because that's been a very, very deep division for years. Here's a question from our MMA junkie colleague, Mr. Matt Wells. You could take that one, Farah. Any thoughts? Should the UFC revive the women's featherweight division in 2026?
Yeah, I won't let you, so you don't crap on women's MMA anymore. But it depends. I mean, I don't know if maybe they can have like one-off fights like they kind of were doing when Amanda Nunes was whole. I don't know if you want to even bother making an entire division and have rankings. Like, are there even enough people to make rankings and whatnot? So maybe not do that, but you can make the weight class exist, because UFC like to promote through titles, right? So there are, I mean, Larissa Pacheco, what's her status? Like, yeah, with the PFL now, not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So
training with Nunes for this fight.
So you can revive it, sure. I don't have a problem with that, but you don't need to make an entire like division and rankings out of it. I think it will be cool if they can sign random fighters from other organizations that would be interested, that have some name value, and that could just be the next challenger, as opposed to, well, I guess isn't that what they tried to do before? Yeah. Or no, it was a bunch of bantamweights putting on a couple of extra pounds. So yeah, exactly. I wouldn't hate it. It won't be the worst thing, but I highly doubt they would do it.
Wonder if, as AZ Ray video says here, if we get this fight, Rousey versus Carano, God help us all. I could see that being at 145, just given, both their long times off. There's no title implications or anything. So we'll see if that even lands in the UFC. If it does happen, it does feel like things are trending that direction. Antoine, did you see, either of you see Pantoja's arm snap in person? Yes. Unfortunately, I was cage side for that. And it was horrible, but, God, not as bad. I think the worst injury I've seen cage side was Chris Weidman breaking his leg against Uriah Hall. That one was like clear vision directly in front of us, nowhere to look, but that leg break. So that was not a fun one. Have you had any of those when you've been cage side? Like any?
No, because Aspinall blowing out his knee, that's not something you visually see. That's just unfortunate, but you're not seeing anything
Right.
gory. I don't think I have, actually, thankfully.
Yeah. Do we see atom weight by 2030? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I feel like they would have done it. Like, why would you even wait later? I think they would have done it by now, and they didn't. So
I'll bite my tongue on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to you. Close it out. What's your third prediction for 2026?
Okay, third one is I think Umar will be champion by the end of the year. Umar Nurmagomedov. Yeah. I just think that, I don't know if Merab gets an immediate rematch against Petr Yan. I don't know if the landscape changes with if Umar beats Davison and if Sean O'Malley beats Song Yadong, which directions they go. But I just think skill set wise, where he's at in the division, minus tucking his chin in a little bit and getting clipped by that one shot he keeps getting clipped with. I just think he's complete. I think the fight with Petr Yan would be very interesting, but I think if you combine just the skill set, the grappling and the striking, and just the team he comes from, and just the expectations on him and stuff, I think he lives up to it by the end of the year. I think he beats Davison, and if he ends up if he beats Davison, then we get into Ramadan, and then depends when Petr Yan gets booked. So Petr Yan, if he fights Merab, will have nothing to do with Ramadan. But then, if they're going to wait for Sean O'Malley, if Sean O'Malley wins and they want him, then whatever. There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts. But end of 2026, I think Umar in Abu Dhabi. Just like I like to make every fight in Abu Dhabi.
Yes. I think we talked about this whenever it was that we last chatted. And yeah, like I asked Usman Nurmagomedov in an interview about that, like, how big of a fight would Umar versus Yan be in that part of the world? And he was like, absolutely huge. So we'll see what direction they go. I know Merab very much wants his rematch. He's out there in Georgia and Spain and everything. And I think kind of getting the time off he needs, but yeah, the thing isn't signed yet, and we are getting rapidly closer to UFC 324, and that would make me a little bit nervous if I was Merab in terms of seeing what Sean and Umar might be able to do in their fights. And yeah, things could change. But crazy, I think I saw the aforementioned Matt Wells do an odds post around that fight. Umar is like minus 1,600 or something insane.
Yeah, it's absurd. And I think I'm very high on Umar, and I think he's super skilled, probably the most overall skilled bantamweight if you factor in the grappling, the submissions, and the striking and whatnot. But yeah, that's a little crazy, like expectations wise and stuff like that. So a little crazy and little disrespect with Davison. I know the career trajectories and stuff like that, but still not 1,600. We're not. This kind of reminds me of like the heavyweights, the rising heavyweight prospect that knocks out everybody and gets a short notice guy on 2 days notice that no one's ever heard of. Like that, that's the kind of odds we're talking about. So this isn't the case here.
Sounds like a preview of Gable Stevenson's UFC career.
But yeah, in terms of Yan and Umar, I remember which fight was it that Yan was at in Abu Dhabi? I don't know if it was 280 or one of the fights, but I could not find a breakfast spot because all of Yan's family, friends, and everybody because they all wore the gear. Yeah, I couldn't find a spot in breakfast for the entire 5 days that I was there. So yeah, he's got a lot of people that will fly over to watch him fight. So if that fight takes place in Abu Dhabi, I agree, it would be huge.
Yeah, that would be great. I love those predictions. Well done, Farah. Well thought out. Appreciate that. Before we bounce here, I assume this is in relation to the injuries. Yeah. Depends on the circumstance. The Chris Weidman one was like definitely covering of the eyes and just like a very somber thing just because it was so nasty. The Pantoja one was a little weirder because they played it like the replay how many times on the broadcast? Like 15. They were playing it in the arena as well. So it was a lot of oohs, ahs, like a lot of cringes. And yeah, like it's a little different when the fighter can leave the cage under their own power. When they're stretchered out, it's a little more somber in there and people are a little more respectful. But yeah, that's the picture there. All right, Farah, we're over an hour here. Appreciate you doing this. I know it's getting late over there, so thank you so much for the time. Thank you to everyone for listening, watching, all that stuff. Please make sure to thumbs up, comment, all those things. If you have any other questions, leave it in the comments. I can circle back later and try to answer some of them for you guys. But yeah, thank you, Farah. What do you got planned here? We got 2 weekends left with no fights. What are you gonna do?
All focus on the basketball tournaments tomorrow. I'm gonna
Lock in.
because now we're tied with like 3 other teams in the standings, which pisses me off why we lost. The other team made a comeback, by the way. We were up double digits, so I was not happy coaching. I coached that team, so I was not happy. And so tomorrow we're gonna see 2 of the other teams that have the same record as us battle it out. So at least someone's gonna lose. So it's gonna be good.
All right. Well, if I make it down to the Raptors game on Sunday, I'll maybe get some tips from the coaches on how to close out games and pass that on to you.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. I appreciate you so much. Thank you to everyone for watching, and we'll see you back here by the bonfire sometime soon.